Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, we're trying to do two things at one time, multitask by getting all of our people on. But welcome to our final Brotherhood cohort of 2025 meeting. I'm so grateful and thankful that God has allowed us to see one whole year of brothers coming together, joining together, and talking through problems, issues that we're having, and trying together to find ways to get resolutions. Again, I'm so thankful to our very capable CIO, Dr. Teresa Duhart, who has for in a year, her and sister, what's her name?
Sharon Doss.
Sharon Doss. Her and Sister Doss have been faithful with assisting us with our technology. And so, Dr. Duhart, Dr. Doss, I just want to thank you personally from the bottom of my heart for all that you have done to not only assist this Brotherhood Cohort 2025, but also the entire Christian Methodist Episcopal Church. Know that your work is invaluable, and we are greatly appreciative for you. And we thank God for all that you do. And we wish God's choicest blessings upon you as we continue to grow and advance with our CIT ministry. At this time, I also like to thank Brother Anthony Smokes, who's our General Secretary of Ministry to Men, as well as Bishop Thomas L. Brown, who serves as Bishop Brown, who serves as our chair. Thank you, my brothers, and for your leadership and your patience and your trust and confidence in me to start this model project. We know that when we always try something new, there's always hiccups and things don't go as planned. But you guys have allowed us the space to do what it is that we believe that God is calling us to do. And so again, Bishop Brown, Dr. Smokes, we thank you for all that you have done as we've been on this year-long journey. So at this time, Brother Smokes, if you would, bring us greetings, and then I'm going to allow you to introduce our very capable your predecessor, who it wasn't for him and his leadership and his vision 23 years ago. The ministry to men would not be in existence. So, Brother Smokes, if you would come your own way and greet us, whatever remarks you would have to say, and then we would turn over to our very own Dr. Leo Pickett.
Good evening, everyone. It says unmute. Hold on. Oh, okay. So you can hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. This is more than a meeting. This is iron sharpens iron. And iron only sharpens iron when there is pressure, friction, and contact. So tonight we didn't come to sit quietly. We come to challenge each other. We come to strengthen each other, and we come to sharpen each other. Excuse me. Because dull men don't build strong families. Dull men don't lead with courage. Dull men don't change communities. But sharpened men, they pray harder, they lead better, they stand stronger, they love deeper, they fight for what matters. Proverbs says that iron sharpens iron, so a man sharpens the countenance of his friends. That means nobody here stands alone. We grow together, we rise together, we get stronger together. So if you came tired or you're watching the game, you'll leave strengthened. If you came discouraged, you'll leave encouraged. If you came unsure, you'll leave sharpened. Men, tonight, it's about becoming stronger men, better men, godly men, sharpened men. Iron sharpens iron. It is my pleasure to introduce my predecessor, General Secretary Emeritus, Dr. Leo Pinkett.
Thank you, Dr. Smokes.
My pleasure.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Smokes and Brother Blackman. I'm encouraged and excited about this movement And I don't understand, Dr. Teresa, why things are backwards on my screen. So you're going to have to train me in that area to turn it around. But I'd like to say, to each of you, greetings uh, from the gauntlet here in Atlanta, that we continue to support our ministries and look forward for this movement to continue. We're reaching more and more individuals, not only just in the CME Church, but around every Zion and denomination that we've been in contact with. So I'm excited about the growth of the ministry and to see that things are continually to improve and get better and better. As I used to say when I was a younger man, gooderer and gooderer. I hadn't figured out whether, Webster picked that up again. But I'm excited and continue to be encouraged by the movement of the ministry, the men department. And Bishop Brown, I'm excited about your vision for this opportunity that you supported in every way. So again, I wish the best to all tonight and for days to come. And always remember, God's delay does not mean his denial in all that we do and encounter. Thank you.
Hey man, thank you so very much, General Secretary Smokes and General Secretary Pickett. Especially you, Dr. Pickett. You know how long I've been admiring and been a champion of yours as much as you've been a champion of mine since I was about 14, 15 years old. For those of you who don't know, he used to sell what was it life? What was the name of it?
At that time, it was Prudential.
It was Prudential. Yeah, it was on the tip of my tongue. It was Prudential. And he and our insurance agent were good friends. And so he came to Mobile one time. I'm like, I know that guy. I seen him in church before. and we've been had a good friendship and brotherhood for the longest. So I thank you, Dr. Pickett, for your leadership and your encouragement. Thank you again, Dr. Smokes, for all that you have done to ensure that the ministry to men not only grows, but is vibrant. And that is what we really need in this day and time. I don't see him on. Dr. Tyrone Jones going to open our opening prayer. But I'm going to ask my friend, Reverend Melvin Lawrence, if he was open us up in prayer. He's from the fourth. And so we know our motivational moment will be coming from Bishop Thomas L. Brown, who was previously and grew up in the fourth Episcopal District. So Reverend Lawrence, if you will open us up in the word of prayer, and I'm going to let you introduce your bishop. Bishop Thomas L. Brown Sr.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm happy to be here. And yes, you're correct, Bishop Thomas L. Brown Sr. At this time, we, as you guys know, in the fourth, we've had some challenges, and so we'll leave it like that for now. But if you'll bow your head, please. Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening as this ministry to men brotherhood. Lord, we know there are going to be challenges. All of us understand that there will be glitches. But Father, we ask that we come together as brothers, that we understand the purpose that we're here, as you have blessed us all to be here, and to bring our thoughts, bring our ideas, things that we've learned, and things that we glean from your word. In your darling son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Man. You want to say a few words, Reverend Lawrence, about Bishop Thomas L. Brown Sr.?
Well, yeah, actually, I had the privilege to work with Bishop Thomas L. Brown Sr. for several years, and I was excited, quite honestly, the way he carried out things. He was very cordial. He'd come to, as we all know, everybody wants the bishops to come to their church and preach and things of that nature. And we would have some programs. We were pleased, the wife and I were pleased to be able to gift him with an African walking stick. And he and the First Lady seemed to be really happy about that. We were pleased with his leadership and with the tenacity in which he worked and with the way in which he approached us all. Quite frankly, very businesslike. It's quite. You guys don't know me yet. I'm kind of a no nonsense kind of person. Like having fun and all of that. But when it's time to take care of business, I believe in, and I know we all do on this platform. So that was a very pleasant experience, and having him here. And quite frankly, I can say without being condescending, Bishop Brown has been missed. his stability, what he brought to the district, and that kind of thing. And as I said, many of you are aware we've had some challenges, and he's been missed. And we just wish him the best as he moves forward. And if he's so inclined, I don't think anybody would be upset if he decided to return.
Nobody but me.
Okay.
Good evening to all of you. Certainly to Dr. Duhart, thank you, my sister, for all that you do to help us connect across this church. Certainly to our distinguished General Secretary, Dr. Smokes, Emeritus, Dr. Pinkett, and I started calling Pastor Blackman, but I guess I'll leave that alone for a minute. But Brother Blackman, thank you for all that you do and your spirit and leadership. Certainly, Reverend Laws, it's good to see you, brother. It's been a minute. And certainly give Reverend your spouse our regards as well. I have fond memories, and I think I'm holding in my hand something that you may recognize as a part of a gift. And certainly our distinguished chair, president of the alumni of Phillips School of Theology, Reverend Dr. Lou. Good to see you, my brother. I was told that our scripture for this evening is as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. And I heard Brother Smokes talking about iron and friction and pressure and all. And I know he read about that. I'm a country boy from Mississippi, so I know about sharpening iron, sharpening plow, sharpening a hoe. All of that I did as a young fellow growing up in the countryside of Mississippi. So you're right. It requires some pressure, requires friction rather, and it requires a little bit of knowledge and knowing what to do. You can put pressure, but if you don't know how to make it work, it still won't work. So all of that goes in the hand. But I want to just say a word about keep it moving. Keep it moving. Brothers, this text reminds us that we were never meant to stand still or stand alone. Iron doesn't get sharper sitting on a shelf. It sharpens through friction, through contact, through movement. And in the same way, God has designed us as men to grow stronger, wiser, and more faithful through one another. Keep it moving means we refuse to become stagnant. For stagnation is one of our greatest enemies. But we become stagnant whenever we lose sight of our purpose, when we isolate ourselves, when we stop growing, when we settle for complacency and begin to become dull. But when we stay connected to God and to each other, we can stay sharp. In the Methodist tradition, Black Methodist tradition, in fact, as we gather together, Wesley called this holy conferencing, that whenever the brothers or sisters gather in the name of the Lord and in the Spirit of Christ, it's not just a meeting, it's conferencing. It's a holy conferencing because we believe that God is present. And wherever God is present, there's indeed movement, there's friction, there's growth, and there's development. So tonight we come together to keep it moving, keep walking together, keep praying together, holding each other accountable. That's how we keep it moving. When one brother gets weary, another lifts him up. When one loses focus, another brings him back. When one succeeds, we all succeed. But to be clear, sharpening isn't always comfortable. Iron against iron creates friction. And sometimes we need correction. Sometimes we need truth that challenges us. But don't run from it, lean into it, because God uses that friction to refine and not break us. So our challenge here is to keep our purpose before us because where there's purpose, there's focus. Where there's purpose, there's usually movement. But not only keep our purpose, but our passion. Passion grows out of a sense of love for that which we are part of, love for each other, commitment to make sure that we are not just doing things and going through the motions, but we are indeed helping each other become better. Passion because each of us is getting better. And because each of us is getting better, we want others to likewise do so. But also, we have to keep moving by perseverance. This life, as you know so well, is not easy. We are fraught with obstacles. We are challenged by all kinds of things that impede us or that seek to impede us by the odds. And being Black men, we have a long history of knowing that we are fighting upstream, like salmons swimming upstream. But we persevere because we know that in perseverance, character, as Paul says, is made. Perseverance, hope is birthed. And so we keep it moving. And as we stay connected, let us stay accountable, let us stay committed, and let us stay sharp. And sharp men build strong families, strong churches, strong communities, and strong men also help deal with the issues of oppression and injustices. I close then with a story that I often use, maybe sometimes too much. It is a story that grows out of my experience as a lad growing up in Mississippi, when I saw in the spring of the year and the fall of the year, ducks flying in V formation. At the time, I didn't know the purpose of this. I was always marveling when I looked up at in the sky and saw and heard ducks flying in the summer coming south, in the winter rather coming south, and in the summer going north. And often they would stop by our pond and spend a few moments getting refreshed so they could keep on flying. But later I learned that ducks and geese and birds fly in V formation because they can fly 7 and 3% further by flying in V formation. In V formation, the ducks in the front are able to help buffer those behind them in terms of gravity and friction. But then eventually, those in front rotate around so that others in the back can have the opportunity to lead. But what I'm really pushing for here is not just the movement that they understand that they need each other to keep flying, and they know they need to buffer each other from the friction and from the air, but also to share leadership. But every now and then you hear a duck say to another, quack, 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 quack. And so tonight I want to say to you, brothers, quack, quack, keep on moving. We've got better days ahead of us. Quack, quack. Don't let this movement die because me or you. Quack, quack, because tomorrow gotta be better because God promises us so. So my brothers and sisters, quack, quack to you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Bishop Brown. We knew that you were going to come with some theologically sound, practical principle that we can take away from not only for the highly educated city man, but you said those country people too. You know, I always got a little country in us, Bishop. It don't matter where you're from. You can be from the city, or you can be from deep down in the woods. But we all got some country in us. But something you said struck me, and it was when the ducks flying in V formation, and you said we gotta keep moving. And me and Dr. Pickett, we were talking about the Lion King, the new Lion King. I have an 8-year-old son, so we watched it so many times. I can tell you the front to back of the movie. But when they got to a certain part of the movie, when they finally reached the promised land, which was called Malele, you saw one of the scenes where the birds were flying in V formation. And it was because they were all mission minded. They were on one accord. They were trying to get to their designated place. And I think as men, once we get our minds made up, because sometimes we stand in our own way, But once we get our minds made up and we get in formation and we get mission mind, I think we can see change not only in our churches, but also in our families, in our communities, and also in the world. We need some courageous men to stand up to the occupancy of the White House and tell them some of the stuff you're doing, is not right. But that's where we lift each other up and we sharpen each other. So thank you again, Bishop Brown, for that, sir. I greatly appreciate you. And I think we kind of need you to record that one, and that may be one of your last retirement messages we get to hear from you. Quack, quack.
All right. Well,
But
some of these folk on the Zoom tonight have heard me share this before, so it's not new to them. But anyway, thank you.
Well, what to say? There's nothing new under the sun, Bishop. But listen, we like that. Sometimes you need a refresher to get us to where we need to be. And at this time, it's my honor to introduce our cohort participants. Though these gentlemen have been with us since February, actually, of 2025, and they have journeyed with us. They have shared with us. They've cried with us. They've upheld us. So I just like to thank you guys personally from the bottom of my heart. I see him start with who I see. I see Brother Calvin Patillo from the third, who's been a strong leader up there and hanging with us, being a faithful participant. We have Dr. Brian Champion, who I've known longer than I think I almost been a member of the CME Church. I've been knowing Dr. Champion so long. We have Dr. Brian Champion. We have my brother, Reverend Marvin Charles Lou Jr., who's traveling, but we know that you've been here steady and faithful with us. Reverend Melvin Lawrence, who's also been with us. He's and came in. He just don't know it, but he's a new big brother to me. Coach Lawrence, I appreciate your words of encouragement through the week. You never know what someone is going through, and those text messages that you send, I greatly appreciate it, and thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
We have the Reverend Dr. Ty Jones, who is my pastor, who's always been in my corner for the past 2 years he's been here, but we greatly appreciate you, sir. We have the Reverend Dr. Antoine Shine from the 60th Episcopal District, who's been on and done such a wonderful job, and we thank you, sir. And we have the Reverend Geo Baker from the 1st Episcopal District, who's also a steady hand when we need one. But there are also some guys who are not on tonight that have been with us from the beginning. And that is the Reverend James Melton from the 2nd Episcopal District, Brother Willie Jackson from the 8th Episcopal District, Reverend Ulysses Neal from the 8th Episcopal District, Reverend Gary Chalk from the 8th Episcopal District, and Reverend Paris J. Lester from the 2nd Episcopal District. Those guys have made up our cohort, and they have been faithful to the cause, and I greatly appreciate each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart. But now we're gonna jump into it. Y'all know I get choked up every now and then, and I don't like to last longer than an hour. But we're gonna go ahead and jump into our discussion for tonight. And our discussion for tonight is really just a conversation on what brought us here, why we're here, our purpose, some of the gaps that we have seen in our communities, and also where do we go from here. So I'm gonna ask the Reverend Marvin Charles Lou Jr. and the Reverend Dr. Antoine Shine if they would come on. And we're just gonna have a candid conversation, my brothers. And so I'm gonna start with you, Dr. Lou. What brought you to this cohort, and what have you gained from this, and how can it impact your church, your local church, and your community?
Hey, blessings and favor, gentlemen, and Dr. Duhart, and those who may be watching us on other means. I'm gonna be honest with you. What brought me here is my little brother James Blackman. I'm just gonna be 100 because we are family. When you asked me to come on, I did, not just to support you, but because I remember the day when Ministry to Men was approved at the General Conference. It was the impassioned plea of my brother, who now is a chaplain in the U.S. Air Force, Chaplain Felix Jones Sr., who stood on the floor and talked about the impact of this ministry having upon his sons. And since he is my twin in life and spirit, to see that emanating from him puts me to get even more engaged with ministry to men over these 20 years. I'm here with this because, as you said, it's essential for men to have a voice, not just in our communities, but in our church, specifically Christian Methodism. A voice of power, a voice of strength, a voice of transparency, a voice of vulnerability, a voice that says, hey, this is what I'm feeling, because we're not the only ones. Too many times we still go to our congregations on Sunday mornings and we are surrounded by our sisters and we thank God for them, but we still have that segment of men who feel like because we are outnumbered, then we're outvolumed. This room allows us to have volume and to practice our volume as we step back into our congregations and communities and speak with boldness, speak with truth, and speak with honesty. So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm going to stay here, because I want to make sure that the men of Christian Methodism realize that there's volume to our voice. And when we have volume, we have victory.
Volume to our voice and victory. You such a wordsmith. But I appreciate it. Dr. Shine, I know you're ready to jump on in.
Thank you, Brother Blackman, Dr. Lou, and thank you, Dr. Duhart, and to my bishop. Thank you, Bishop Brown, for a great word of keeping it moving. So, Brother Blackman, what brought me here, again, my brother, your invitation, but when you invited me and I looked at the concept of this cohort really meaning group, bringing a group of men together. There is an old African proverb that says it takes a village to raise a child. And I want to suggest tonight that it takes a village or a group of men to help cultivate and to mold men. And I was studying and looking at some statistics, Brother Blackman, the other day, and some research that indicated that when a father or a man takes his family to church, 93% of the time, the family comes to church. But then when only the mother comes, then 30% of the time does the whole family come to church. And so when we look at the concept of ministry to men and men being impactful, I am a product of strong men. My grandfather and father, who created for me a group, a safe place to lean on. And when men have an environment where they feel like it's not competitive, where they can lean on one another, then I believe that theologically and fundamentally, we create stronger families, we create stronger churches, and we create stronger neighborhoods. And so that's what brought me here tonight, Brother Blackman. Thank you.
You know, I remember your father well. I want to say the first time I traveled to around the connection, we went to the second Episcopal District. It was for, I don't know what we had in Indianapolis, but something led us to that church that was pastored by the Reverend Dr. O'Neill Shine. And your father was one of the first men to embrace younger generations. And so you're right. You were enveloped, enclosed by that close knit love for brotherhood and fellowship, but also it was the way your father carried himself. He carried himself in such a way that first you knew he was a man, but you knew he was a godly man. And so we see that in you, my brother. I thank you for emulating your father, but also growing out of your father and being your own man. So thank you, Dr. Shine. We greatly appreciate it. And Dr. Lou, you know I love you.
Yes, sir, man.
You know you, my brother. You know I've been looking up to you since 2006. So we know we've got a long ways to go, but we're praying that God will continue to lead and guide us in all that we do.
That's right. That's right.
Amen.
Now
Thank
it
you.
does me, thank you. Now it does me a great honor to introduce my first advisor. The I'm gonna do like they do me, Doc. The Reverend Dr. Brian Brian Champion. But Brian Champion was our first connection to young adult ministry advisor when we were the assistant secretary in 2008, from 2008 to 2012. And I think that maybe I'm being biased, Dr. Champion. I think that maybe was the best group we've had on connection to young adult ministry. That 2008 to 2012 administration. You've been you been our advisor, and we greatly appreciate everything you taught us. It wasn't just do as I say, but it was you model what leadership within our church looks like. And so we thank you for that. And it's my honor to have you on with us tonight. But also, I have one of my new best friends, the person who prays for me, who stands by me through thick and thin. That's the Reverend Dr. Tyrone Jones from the Taylor Chapel Christian Methodist Episcopal Church in the big city of Pritchard, Alabama. Thank you, my brothers. And so tonight, your segment is Bishop Brown brought it out when he talked about the Ducks. And there's power in their formation. So my question to you is the power of men gathering with purpose. Why do men's forum like this matter today? I'm going to start with Dr. Champion, since his one is off mute, and then we'll come to you, Dr. Jones, once you can get off mute.
All right. First of all, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Brother Blackman, for this opportunity, but more important for this program, this Brotherhood cohort that you've put together. And I just want to recognize Bishop Brown and General Secretary Smoke and General Secretary Emeritus, Dr. Pinkett, because we do not come to this place today not standing on those shoulders of those men who brought us here. And programs like this are very important in our church, very important. And when we really think about how the word of Jesus Christ is spread, it's spread through relationships. How people develop is through relationships, and men's ministry bring us into those types of relationships. It's important because of the fellowship, how we begin to grow each other, how we begin to model one another's behaviors, how we actually learn how to become Christian men, how we also learn that we're not going through something all by ourselves. Without a forum like this, sometimes we believe we're on an island. And then we get a chance to see that someone else is struggling with the same thing I'm struggling with, or they've already struggled through it. And now they can help me to bypass those potholes. It's the mentorship that's very important. And I would just say that, we've really found ourselves in this place in this time with an advantage. And what we've seen is how through technology, and thank you, Dr. Duhart, how we are reaching people that we never would have reached before. Don't look at the 46 participants that are on here today, because there's going to be somebody else who's watching this later. There's going to be somebody else who touches this. I used to do a internet show, and we used to have about 50 people on each week. And what I started finding out is that we were reaching so many more people stopping me in the mall, talking about, I appreciate what you said. So when we do ministry like this, we're not limited to those that we are looking across. And so we thank God for this. And I'm just want to say, and I'm thankful for this and so many other ministry to men forums like this. So I just want to, just acknowledge the fact that there's Touchdown Tuesdays. If you can't be part of the Brotherhood, you can be part of Touchdown Tuesdays. You can do Friday Night Live. You can do the barbershop. There's the Echoes of Character. All these things are available to you, and hopefully one of them match with you so you can continue to keep it moving, as Bishop Brown said. I want to say this one last thing, and hopefully, and it's important because this ministry to men is very important to me. And I know it's important to many of you. And some people are going to tell you in the coming months that this is not a forum that's needed in the church. And I'm just going to invite you to stand with me and stand with others to say, no, this is something that's important. Does it need to look different? Maybe it does, but it definitely doesn't need to go away. And so I want to just challenge you all to keep it moving beyond 2026, that we're still in the infancy and we're still growing, but it's still a vital and needed ministry in our church. Again, thank you for this opportunity to share in the forum.
Dr. Champion, you jumped ahead of the game. That was going to be our call to action, but I'm so glad you brought it up. And Bishop Brown can attest. We've had the privilege of assisting the resolutions committee this year, and there was one that brought up this exact ministry and want to make it into a commission. But I challenge us to really study and see what it is that we can do to make it better. I've always been one of the ones that don't just talk about an issue without having a solution to the issue. If you have an issue with something, do the research, do the homework, bring ideas that could enhance what you see the problem is. Don't just throw it away. My grandma used to say you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You have to try to find ways to enhance what it is that we need to do. And so at this time, Dr. Jones, because I get on my soapbox, you know how I get. I'm gonna let you go ahead and answer your question about how the forums like this are needed.
First of all, good evening to all of you. Brother Jamie, the host, and our tech, Dr. Duhart, especially to Bishop Brown, and to all you brothers and those who are watching. This is very, very important for us. When Jamie asked me to do this, we salute you, Brother Blackman, as well as we support you. As I was thinking about this, there's a very familiar text in our scriptures, Psalms 163, that says, how good and pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. And I was thinking about that unity when Dr. Brown was talking about how the ducks uniform themselves in the V and they fly on one accord. He may not remember this, but I must tell him this, remind him of this on his way out. And, I can't remember exactly the year, but it was in annual conference in Orlando, Florida, Carter Tabernacle. He was a dean then, a Phillips School of Theology, and he taught a class with young pastors. And he reminded us about our note when we preach. He says that you find your middle C, he said. Find your middle C and don't change your middle C, because your middle C is where your preaching and engaging become impacted and powerful. So as I remember that, Dr. Brown, for years, and so it is with us as men, because we have a sound that's very important, not only in our homes, but in our community as well as our churches. We need to be on the right key, because it's very important for our generation, our young generation that is coming around us. I funeralized a 17-year-old young man Saturday in my church, that his life was snuffed out Sunday after he left church. The guys that was with him took his life, and the church was so full with these young babies. And I did not let the opportunity leave me by reminding them that this young man had a relationship with Jesus, and he impacted these young people's lives. So we as men, we have a responsibility for the generation behind us. They need to see us in our key. They need to hear our voice. They need to see our movement. And our movement need to be forward movement, not only for positiveness in our families, but positivity in our community. They need to hear our key, that we care and that we want to be involved. And when we mentor to them, to let them know that they are somebody, this is very, very important. And I look forward to where this is headed. This brotherhood, this fellowship is headed. The Men's of Men ministry is very important, not only to the youth, but also to brothers of our age to stay connected and allow the CME Church to become positive, not only in our communities, but in the world around us. Thank you, Brother Blackman, for this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Jones and Dr. Champion. And one of the main reasons why this came to my mind, because as I said, you all know I have an 8-year-old son, and I see so many small kids when I go to their schools and to the baseball games, because I coach his little league baseball team. So many small boys who don't have positive male role models. It was fun. I went on one of his field trips, and I was the only dad, and it was the entire second grade. So that was almost 200 kids on the field trip. I was the only dad on the field trip, and all the young boys in not only in his class but other classes, they were gravitating towards me because I was the only male that they saw. And I thought about it. How many times do we see the same scenario play out in church and in our communities? We have young men in our churches, but they don't see a lot of male influence that they can emulate. And so that was powerful. And that is why this men's ministry matters, because it's like Dr. John said, it's not just for us, but it was for the generation behind us. And Dr. Jones talked about the funeral we had on Saturday. I'm gonna call his name. His name was Isaiah, and he was like my godson. I watched raised that boy from the time his mother told us that she was pregnant. And his last words were, we were at church Sunday, and his last words were to me I know Unc has my back. And he left there, and his life was taken not even 4 hours later, from a senseless act of violence. So as men, we need to be courageous and stand up in our communities and say we're not tolerating this. And so that's where, but that goes into our next segment, because as we see, there's a gap between the church and the community, but also between the church, the family, and the community, because there aren't any male role models. So I have someone who I've known as a scholarly gentleman, but he also keeps it real. And that's Mr. Willie Jackson from the 8th Episcopal District. But I'm also going to ask all the rest of the panel, what gaps does a brotherhood fill in with our church and our communities? I've already talked about the male role model gap, but Dr. Jackson, I'm gonna let you start us off. What gaps does a brotherhood fill in our church and our community?
Good afternoon, everyone. And I want to recognize Bishop Brown and thank him for all of our impromptu discussions I tend to always seem to have with him at unity summits and everywhere. I don't know how we always have those discussions. And Dr. Pinkett but I value all of them. And I want to drop back a second before I move forward. You talked about you being the only father. I went to a men's day or a dad's day program at my son's school, high school. I walked in. There wasn't a man in the building.
Mm.
And I walked in, I was standing next to the principal, and he laughed and he told me, he said, I should have known if any dad showed up, it would have been you. Because my wife and I tended to show up for everything. But the gap we have is we're filling a gap is that we don't have enough male anything anywhere right now.
Mm.
And I know it's bad to put it that way, and maybe country saying, but you know, I'm only one generation removed from the country, so it is what it is. We don't have enough male anything anywhere. We tend to be too selfish.
Mm.
You know, I've taught Sunday school since '93, and I've watched the male attendance at my church dwindle. And if you go to your church, attendance dwindles, they don't show up. If it doesn't have to do with sports or making money or making them money, they don't want to show up. It's not about giving, it's about getting.
Mm.
And that's decidedly, in my understanding, unchristian. That wasn't the way I was raised. So there's a gap there that we have to fill. One of the reasons I'm here is because anytime I hear about something that's building up men, I want to be a part of it. That's why I'm a part of Ministry to Men. That's why I'm a part of the Cohort. And if I hear about something else, I'll probably be a part of that too. I'm healing from Guillain-Barré syndrome, which means I can't be physically active, but thank God for Zoom. So I can be all over the country right now because I can't be physically anywhere right now. Well, but this time last year, I was barely getting out of a wheelchair. Now I'm on a rollator, but the devil's a liar. I'm gonna be walking normally again. But the the place that we feel, we have to fill the gap that's missing. Our young men need to see us. We must be visible. We don't have the black men or our black children are dying every day in the streets, or they're dying socially. They're getting eaten up by television, their telephones, everything, because we are not feeding them. Black males are not visible. In my age, black males were visible. My uncle, the men at my church, there were men visible in my life everywhere. And it's my Christian belief that we have to be visible again if we want our children to be saved. We have to have a gathering, a social gathering. We have to be able to rub elbows, hobnob, love each other, and be with each other. And in that way, we can save our children, because I don't think we can do it unless we can get them to occasionally turn the phones off. If I can talk them into doing it at church, we can talk them into doing it other places. And I'll shut up because I get on my soapbox.
But there's something you said, Brother Jackson, and I greatly appreciate all the nuggets of wisdom you always impart when you're on our cohort. Um, but spaces like this, it holds men accountable. And I think that is what's missing, not only within our churches, within our communities, but that's also what's missing in the world. When you don't hold people accountable for their actions, they feel that they can get away with whatever they want to do, and what is wrong becomes right in their eyesight. So this is a space that holds men accountable, because we're not accountable for ourselves, but we're accountable for those in our families, our neighbors, and they ask who is my neighbor. Everyone is your neighbor. So essentially, we all are family. We're supposed to look out and care for one another. Um, is any other I'm gonna ask General Secretary Smokes, um, a gap that we really haven't hit on this year, but I really want to hit on it another time in your years in corrections. There's always been an emotional and mental health disparity in our communities, and how can spaces like this help address the emotional and mental health needs of men?
Corrections, you're saying?
Yes. How can forums like this or spaces like this address the emotional and mental health needs of men, not only in the church but inside, just in general?
Well, you need brothers to, as this, I say, keep unmute. Hold on. To be present. When younger men or younger boys see men doing things that are positive, they're going to emulate that. They're going to follow that. Now, on the other hand, when those same young boys see men doing things negatively, they're going to emulate that. So if we're not those who are positive, if we're not out there in the showing presence, they'll never see us. For example, there's a young man and my wife teaches second grade. He comes out of the car smelling like marijuana.
Mm.
Um, and he's in his classroom just talking gibberish while she's trying to teach. Now, I know but it's legal now in most states for them to smoke marijuana, but apparently he's around his parents who smoke in the house, in the car, so it's all in his clothes. So he has an attitude of, I don't have to do this. So my wife struggles with him in class to keep him on the straight and narrow. Now in her school, I think there's only, if I'm correct, only one African American male who's a teacher, and he teaches. I call it special ed class, but they call it something else. Um, but um, but he's that only presence in the school. When my son was younger, um, first starting out when he was playing soccer, I worked 100 miles away from home.
Mm.
My parents lived 100 miles away from where I live now, and I would, whenever he had a game, I was there. I drove 100 miles in the morning to go to work to correction facility that I was working in, and I drove 100 miles back to be at his game, to be at his plays or events that was going on in daycare, to be at his events in elementary school. When he started playing, when I got involved in golf, and y'all probably hear me talk about that a lot. Um, I was the only male who's out there with the kids and talking to the mothers. I don't know what they said when they went home. I don't know what the kids said when they went home. But after uh, the father started showing up, I guess they were trying to figure out who was this man talking to my wife. um, and we draw from one another. We learn from one another. When my father, when I was young, my father would go to this. There's an area in Jersey City that all that they will just basically wash their cars or repair cars underneath this overpass. And there you can find anybody, a mechanic, a lawyer, a doctor. If there's something that you need, an electrician, they were there. And they felt with fellowship with one another there. Now, as we go back to the church, I learned, I do at at the churches that I've been at, I do what my father has done. I'm present. I talk to the young men. I encourage them. I joke around with them. I'm always there for them. In my community, I live in the country now, so there's nothing out here except for trees. But when I was in the city, I in the neighborhood, I was always there. I often took my son back to see my parents, and we would go out into the playgrounds that was in the area, and I would be the only father that was there. The kids would be out there running wild. Matter of fact, one kid threatened my son at one time. The kid was older, and I stood there and said, "That ain't gonna happen." I said, "You can go get your mother, you can go get your father, and we can have a discussion about it. Now y'all can play together, but y'all will not be fighting, not as long as I am here in this playground." So wherever I was in this whenever I was in the playground, they were like, "Don't, there he is, there that man is over there. Uh, we can't do no fighting. We got to play." The gentleman that he's long gone now, his name is David Reed. He lived in the Bronx in New York, in high-rise buildings. He was an accountant, and he wore a bow tie every day. And he would leave his building and go to work. And every day he would speak to the young men that were outside. And he told us one time, finally one day, the young men would say, "Sir, when you come out, what kind of work do you do?" And he told them what he did. He said, "You're the only man, the only person that talks to us, that speaks to us." He gained much respect from that. Um, that same thing falls over into the community. That same thing falls into the church. Um, we have to be there. We have to be on the steward board, the usher board, work with the children's ministry. If those who can sing and those who try to sing should be in the choir. um, and just to have a presence, and the children will see that there's something. Why is he there and my dad? Now they're gonna go home and talk about it. They're gonna say, "Mr. Blackman is at the ball games. Dr. Champion is at the cheerleading events with his daughter. Brother Smokes is at events with his son, band competitions." Prior to moving to South Jersey, I had never been to a band competition. And I was traveling high school all around, and I was like, wow, y'all really go all out for this. But I was there. We had been most of the band parents were women, and me, which is the best thing that they can have me do when we have events, is do the barbecues, because I don't want to lift any heavy equipment. Talking to all the kids in the van, and They didn't call me Mr. They called me his dad. So whenever I went to the store, I didn't have my name. Mr. called me. They were like, "Aren't you AJ's father?" If I went to Burger King or McDonald's, "Aren't you AJ's father?" Wherever I went, it was just I was AJ's father. And I'm proud to say my son now is a sophomore in Stevens Institute of Technology. He's studying mechanical engineering, and he's an A-B student. And my chest is sticking out as far from here to Alabama, as far as from here to Texas. I think Wayne Williams used to say, says that I'm elephant peacock proud and elephant happy or something along those lines. So, I cherish every opportunity that I have to get to talk to and out what there are a lot of at Steve Technology. The National Association of Black Engineers Conference down in Baltimore, Maryland. And there was shot pictures back with all the African American students that were there, and that just filled me up to see that our children. We don't see the good ones. We always see and hear about stuff on the news, the bad ones. But I was so proud to see that you had all these African American children, both male and female, at this event. So if we are present, we can make things move. If we are present, we can make things happen. Now I'm gonna take this from Bishop Brown. When we are present, we should say, quack, quack, come on and follow me.
Yeah, I think Bishop Brown and started. So Dr. Pinky used to say, "Man up." I think Bishop Brown wants to start saying, "Quack quack."
Brother Blackman, can I offer a little something to your
Sir.
question? And I know we're approaching that time, so I'm not going to take long. But the way you posed it kind of just made me think through, because you're talking about how we can meet people, and so by training, I'm a behavior scientist. So when you talk about the psychological and the physical needs of individuals and so forth, and the way you asked the question, I thought about Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Mm.
What is the gap? We need to meet the people where
They
they
are.
have needs. And when we meet them where they have needs, and what we know about men and what they need from other men is they need community, because they want to feel loved. They want to feel a sense of belonging. These are things that are very important to men. They want to have self-esteem. So we have to continue to encourage them and put positive words before them. These are things that this type of ministry provides. And this is why it's very important. As you said, we need accountability partners. And that's why a community is important. I had a friend tell me, say, I don't need to go to church. I can read the Bible and I can listen to it on church. And listen to it on the radio. I said, no, you need to be in the presence of a fellowship. And when you're in that presence of a fellowship, you're able to be held accountable with one another. And this is where that gap that you're saying, where can we provide? Mm-hmm. We can provide those needs that people, but understanding that one situation, so what you're seeing in Mobile or in Pritchard might be a little different than what I'm seeing in Washington, D.C. So the needs might be different. So being open-minded enough and humble enough to adjust to the needs of those people that we serve.
You knew I was gonna come to you in the next segment, but you already got yours out. Because what you do such a great job. You don't know. I listened to one of your sessions that Sister Perry was at. when Paige Perry was at one of your sessions that you did for the Social Security Administration. And she was like, y'all listen to Dr. Champ. You were going in, Doc, but you talked about not being burnt out on your job, and how burnout can lead to other internal issues that come out, that express outwardly. So in this kind of setting, this gives us space, me and space, to have open conversations, and just talk things out. Because we know a lot of our men not going to therapy, and I'm a big proponent. I was one of the ones that say I'm not going to a therapist, but when I started going, I feel so much better. Because sometimes you have to talk stuff out, and this gives us the opportunity to talk stuff out, and it brings us to our next segment of how can we take what we've built here and extend it to others. And I'm so glad Coach Lars, he does that, y'all. He has a podcast that comes on, and he keeps it real. So Dr. Lars, how can we take what we've built and extend it to others?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And Bishop Brown, I meant what I said. We wouldn't be mad if you came back. But Brother Smokes, it's been great working with you. And Brother Blackman, I appreciate you reaching out to me. You know what? I know we run out of time, but I just like to cite two words as we're talking: intentionality and receptiveness. And Dr. Champion just really hit up on those. Having been a high school principal for so many years, I can't remember, and working with gangs and Mr. Jim Brown and the American program and all of that, is that we sometimes fail as men to understand that we do not show the face to our young men that we need to show to them. And that is one of having confidence in ourselves, etc. So, and again, Dr. Champion hit on that, is that we have to meet them where they are. And just one thing I would do as a high school principal, I would, when I had to contact the parents for parent meetings and things like that, I intentionally would look up the dad. I'd have my secretary to find out where they worked. I'd have the kids in the neighborhood to find out what corners they hung out on and that kind of thing. And I'm telling you, you could tell the difference in that child because we do not support the moms enough. And as we share that, just look at the politics right now. I'm still waiting when we talk about how we take it out for some of those men in Washington, D.C. to stand up for our women. I guarantee you, if some of those men would say, hey, you will not address Jasmine Crockett in that manner. You will not address Auntie Maxine. What I guarantee you, they'd stop a whole lot of these, quote, white boys, unquote, from being so disrespectful. So we as men do not do enough. And I'm sorry, guys, I don't think we do enough of protecting our women. Nobody's saying you have to go out there and fight and pick up guns and all of that. But when people understand that you are coming with intentionality, when they understand that you're coming with receptiveness, and these young men understand that it's a whole different ballgame. Now, of course, nothing works just right all the time. And of course, none of us are looking for, quote, perfection, unquote, because I speak for myself. If I'm out here looking for perfection, then you guys are already in trouble. Because Lord knows I ain't nowhere close. And I tell people all of the time is that I know me better than I know anybody. So as we take it to other people, then we have to understand that many people are broken. And even though we don't know their brokenness, we know that we have some brokenness within us. And I was happy to hear you say, Brother Blackman, because I'm guilty of saying that I would never go to a therapist and that kind of thing, because that's the way I was brought up. But sometimes, and I have no shame, I said, maybe I do. Maybe I do need to go talk to somebody, because some of the things that I see happening, some of the things I see that's going on in the world, I get so angry. And I have to give my wife credit. She said, why you get so angry? And I say, hey, because somebody has got to stop this foolishness. Somebody's got to intervene. Somebody's got to do something about it. Then when you step up and say something, people look at you like you crazy. They go, oh man, you know, that was too much. And then I have been in situations where, as we talk about taking it there, is that okay? I have asked people, well, if that's too much, then what do you consider not enough? When you see, with me now being an old man, I can remember as a little boy I kept hearing over and over and over, well, some of the old folks got to die out, and we were talking about racial inequalities and things like that. And I was asking one of my quote white brothers unquote the other day. I said, now we all are old men, and I've been hearing since I was a little boy that some of the old people got to die out. I said, so now I'm almost to die because of age, and I'm dealing with the same stuff that my great grandparents dealt with, et cetera, et cetera. So when it comes to Christianity, and I said in my only short comment, is that people talk about separating church and state. All of that's good for politics, but when we step out of the church, we're going to meet the same people on the job. Our kids are going to meet these same people in the schools and that kind of thing. So we have to be intentional and not necessarily beat them across the head with the Bible, but make it relevant to what's happening to them right then. Citing scriptures are fine. I'll be honest with you. I have had so many fights with my superintendents and I'll be done, because they say, well, Mr. Lawrence, the policy says that we have no tolerance, and Melvin slapped Blackman, and Blackman hit Melvin back in a big fight. I said, well, what did you expect Blackman to do, sir? I'm serious, man. I get in trouble all the time. Well, sir, we have a policy that says no tolerance. I say, well, sir, you are my boss. You can suspend Blackman. But, sir, I have to tell you, I can't. I would never tell him I'm not going to. I would just tell him I can't. Because when we say, and that was my reason for asking, okay, so what is enough? Do we allow people to continue to be abused and misused and remain broken? Or do we, in the preparation of trying to prepare ourselves, help to prepare others? Because we know what it's like if we be honest. I grew up in a house that was fraught with domestic violence. And for me to sit back and pretend that I do not understand what children go through that's been in that kind of household, then I'm a bigger hypocrite than the people that didn't have to go through it. And what I mean by that was very simple. I was angry. I think I told you guys I wanted to take a life. And the reason I didn't was because I thank God my mother didn't allow me to, because of the respect I had for her. So there are so many things that happen with us, and I know we're all familiar with ACEs, actually with childhood experiences and all of those things. And we never address that. So in our churches, I just feel like sometimes we need to spend more time teaching. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, share sermons and things like that, but I honestly believe, and I hope I don't make anybody angry, I've been in church all of my life, and I can't think of any sermon I haven't heard probably 10 or 15, 20 or 30 times. So I am not advocating that we don't bring the word, but I am advocating that maybe sometimes we can spend a little more time teaching and talking about the brokenness and the hurt that people really feel, instead of, sometimes making them feel worse by, even though that sounds cute, what would Jesus do? That sounds cute. But what does that really mean? So I just wanted to share that little piece, about the intentionality and the receptiveness.
And thank you, Dr. Loris. You brought up intentionality and relevance.
Yes,
And a lot of times the next question will be, what are some barriers do men face and how can we break those barriers? I've come to realize that a lot of times we put people talk about the man putting stumbling blocks in our way. Sometimes we are our own barrier.
There you go.
But you talked about intentionality, and so I intentionally posed this question to two of our fairly younger cohort members, our younger preachers, the Reverend Geo Baker and Reverend Zach Mullen. So I'm gonna ask you to pin those two, Dr. Duhart, and welcome. And both of these are my brothers, so I can joke with them for a little bit. But Geo, what are some barriers do men face?
Now, we being honest with each other, or we just gonna
Yes, listen,
talk
you know
about
me.
what we need to talk about?
Let's be honest.
I mean, let's just be truthful for a moment. There's no shortage of men. but there is a shortage of safe men. There's a shortage of healed men. There's a shortage of whole men because a whole lot of us have just been surviving, but we ain't been living. We've been going through the motions. You know, we're taught to be hard, not whole. Somewhere between man up and don't cry, we buried a whole part of who we are as people. They told us that feelings make you weak, vulnerability is dangerous, and silence is strength. So now we have generations of men who can fight, provide, and perform, but they don't know how to feel, process, or heal. And we're trying to integrate them into a world that says who you are is already dangerous. So we have all this trauma that we never name. You know, the trauma we were raised in, because some of us were men before we got to be boys. And nobody ever pulled us aside and said, hey, this ain't normal. What you're having to do, what you're having to grow through isn't normal, and you deserve to heal. So we carry fatherhood wounds, we carry street trauma, we carry church hurt and systemic pressure, and we call it life. And we don't get to talk about it because, again, we've isolated ourselves, and that isolation has been disguised as independence. We say, I got it, but deep down we're drowning and in need of someone to say, hey, it's okay. You can talk to me. We got partners, but we ain't got brotherhood. I mean, in a world of today, you got followers. You got people who know your every move, but they're still not holding you accountable. I mean, the enemy doesn't mind us being busy, but we're doing it alone. And that's where we find that we don't have the help. So the barriers that we're facing are the same each and every day. We're facing those things that has systemically been put up against us. But again, like you said, those barriers that are generationally there and those that we've put up ourselves. And it's become normal. It's become normal because we don't know how to say this is not okay to our brothers without somebody getting in their feelings. And I should be able to come to you, James, my brother in love. Hey, look, what you said in there, even though you were right, there's a better way of doing it. You didn't have to get all up in their face. You didn't have to say sugar, honey, iced tea so many times. We have to be able to normalize healing. We got to make it okay for men to say, I'm not all right. And the people around us not lose respect for who we are. When I tell you I'm not all right, I should be gaining somebody's support, because that's me surrendering to you and saying, I feel comfortable enough with you to share that I'm not okay. And I feel you might be able to bring some form of healing, whatever that may look like, to the table. You know, and when we do that, we start to build brotherhood and not competition. Because I don't care about who can preach better than me. I don't care who dresses better than me. I don't care who's got more degrees and titles. I just want to know that you're okay and that you're being built up. So when we stop saying, oh, you're a man, you're masculine, and you have to be this, and we stop putting a box on who you or what you can do, and we say, hey, are you okay? And we truly want you to be okay. Mentally, physically. You know, we want you to be okay. Actually, I want you to be more than okay. I want you to be excellent. I want you to be superb. And that's when we'll start breaking those barriers that we're modeling for our children. We're modeling for some young person that doesn't know Christ other than what they meet through us. And we stand in a space and we say, let's reconnect. I have a legacy and a lineage that I want to live out after me. So let me reconnect to what matters, to what my ancestors had, to what the men before me did, how they stood up in church, or how they tarried at the altar for as long as they needed to. And when they weren't okay, they didn't necessarily lament to their friends, but they went fishing. They met up on the way to work and they talked and walked, but they shared with each other, and that community helped build that man back up stronger than what they were before. So, but yeah, that's it.
But see, that's why I intentionally put you and Zach last, because I know y'all was gonna come with it. But as you were talking, this is gonna show you I'm young, but I like old music. Um, Lou Rawls, one of my all-time favorite singers is Lou Rawls.
Oh Lord.
And so he got a song that says, I've been down one time, and I've been down two times, but now I'm drowning in the sea of love. He was reaching out through song telling people he's drowning. I may look okay, but I'm so headstrong over this woman that I can't feel myself breathing. And that is what, when you talked about life, a lot of times as men, we are drowning in life,
Absolutely.
but we keep going because that is what we have to do. What we are trained that and told that we got to do. So Zach, come on in. What you got, Zach? I know you finna take us to another level. Exactly.
I'm so hesitant to speak because you set us up so bad and you kept us last. But good evening, everyone. Really, what has gone through my spirit and come to mind has really been expressed. We've already heard this word about intentionality. And I believe that is what we are lacking most when it comes to the area of ministry to men. Even me, I had never had the best relationship with my father. And so many of the male role models that I had emerged from the church. I know how to tie a tie right now because Cornelius Deere stopped me on Men's Day one day and sat me in the studies room and wouldn't let me leave until I knew how to tie a tie. And that was right in my home church in St. James, Chicago Heights. And so when we think about, oftentimes we focus on what we don't have. And really what we need right now is for men to zoom in on what we do have, zoom in on the remnant. I saw one of the faithful members of Squirrels Memorial in St. Louis say that there's a remnant of men. I want to encourage everyone that many of our churches are surviving and thriving off of a remnant. But the Bible teaches us time and time again that it don't take God a whole lot to work a big miracle. And so I challenge us, first of all, to be intentional with what we do have, intentional about mentoring that one boy that shows up with his grandma, intentional about, even if the conversation is tense, we've got to be relentless in inviting people, young men and young adults in our families to church. It is crazy for us to be going to church every Sunday, wear our ministry to men pins proud, our CME emblems proud, and we shouting and carrying on, but yet we fail to engage the men in our own families. And so I think that's the first challenge. The first barrier is a lack of intentionality, but also Reverend Baker was speaking about the whole person, the mental, spiritual, emotional state of the person. One of our barriers, I believe, when we look from a church context, is that we have an expectation to be perfect.
Mm.
That we stand in the pulpit and preach grace and mercy. We shout because when mother sings, your grace and mercy has brought me through, right? Oh, but when we actually need grace and mercy, it is sometimes on short supply. And we don't always create a space where we make a man who has failed comfortable with his failure, to say this was a mistake I've made, but God is not done with me, nor should the church be. So I want to challenge us to be intentional about investing in the next generation, but also be intentional about really creating a safe space for men to say, hey, I'm bleeding. And instead of bleeding out, I'm coming to the church. I'm coming to the place where I feel most safe, where I'm going to feel most heard. And then finally, I would say this. I believe if we really work the numbers, of course, women would outnumber us in attendance and faithfulness right now, actively in our churches. When we think about the Black community, Black women are fixers. They are always fixing something. If they're fixing us, y'all ain't gonna help me tonight. They Black women have a ministry of taking nothing and creating something. You know how grandma used to go in the kitchen, there was nothing there, you thought, but when she got finished, it was a full course meal. And so that's why we see such a difference in numbers, because Black women still have hope for the Black church. They're not going to give up on the Black church. They're going to do all they can for the Black church. But y'all know how brothers are. Now, brothers are going to come and you tell them you got a vision, they going to believe you for a little while. But if there is no work to give men, if there is no vision for a man to follow, if there is no real hands and feet to our faith, men start to seem like, listen, I'm just coming, listening to a motivational speech every week to help get me through. But it's more than that. Men need more than that. They're not coming to fix, they're coming to do. And so I think the question ought to be, what do we have for men to do when they come to our church, when they're seeking to engage in our church? And so if I was Bishop Marvin Frank Thomas, I would say those were just a few rambling thoughts that
Um, can I piggyback off of my brother for just a moment? That they come to do thing is real. It's built into our DNA to be workers, to be providers. Biblically it tells us we're priest, prophet, and providers. We this is something we've heard generation after generation, and what we do. So what do we have that for them to do? But what do we have that is actually working on them as a whole person to do? We don't just need them coming in, to paint the church and fix the ceiling and do. We need them to have more of an intentional part of the community. Because I mean, again, some children don't know what real men look like.
Yeah.
The same way they don't know who Jesus is unless somebody introduces it to them. And for us as Black people, we have to do better mentally about showing up and doing, because 1 in 4 African Americans has a mental health disorder that's going to be treated, and that's an alarming number. And the only reason it seems low is because that's the only ones reported. There's a stigma around mental health in the Black community, because again, men definitely ain't gonna say I'm not okay. But women are going to be like, well, I've been taking care of it this long. When you got to look at it genetically, we're built to have some form of mental health issue. We are the creators of life. We come from the motherland. Who we are has so much built into our DNA. We have to take into account. Sometimes the voices in our head going to be moving real fast. And we got to take a moment to slow them down, not just in prayer, but for our everyday lives. So I just challenge us to be intentional. When we're getting the men in the church, have a conversation with the men about how they're really doing. Not just how they say they're doing, about how they're really doing. Do they feel manly enough? Do they feel like they're good fathers? Do they feel like they're good husbands, boyfriends, suitors in general?
I would just, if I could just say one more thing, I am in no way a theologian like Bishop uh, Thomas L. Brown, but I did go to Sunday school a few times, and y'all remember when the disciples are gathered trying to figure out how they gonna feed the folk. And one of the disciples lets Jesus know that there's a little boy with a fish dinner and a few pieces. Well, y'all don't know nothing about a hoe cake, but they had a few pieces of
Yeah.
and a few pieces of fried fish hard, mild sauce and lemon pepper if you're from Chicago.
Ah,
And
no, dude.
but the miracle is not always that his little lunch fed everybody. The miracle was that seemingly a boy who would have been overlooked before is the centerpiece of Jesus' miracle. And so I just want to challenge us that we seem small in number. We seem to be dying. We seem to be headed downward rather than upward. But that is exactly the place where Jesus works his best miracles, where Jesus blows our minds the most. It is in the details that are often overlooked. And so sometimes we feel in the church, can we be real men, to be overlooked, to be always ready to be there to handle business, but not to be heard. But it is in those moments where God hides us, where we seem to not be seen, where he exposes us through miracle. And I just wanted to share that. Yeah.
Thank you. You talk about I set y'all up, y'all set me up, because the next part of this is going to issue a challenge. But you all already issued the challenge. But what we built this year is more than just a program. We really created a model of accountability, a model of encouragement, a model of spiritual growth, a model that can show us what happened when men come together with purpose, like those ducks flying in that V, as Bishop Brown said. This cohort was never just about a meeting to be meeting. It's about a transformation. It's about reclaiming God's vision for our manhood. It talks about our cares. It talks about us to be be courageous when we speak, be compassionate when we lifting up others. But it also challenges us to go into the deep, get out of our comfort zones, and ask, what can I do for someone else? Because as we can be honest, a lot of times men are selfish. If it's not about me and mine, I don't want to deal with it. But this cohort really pushed us to challenge ourselves to see what can we do for other people. Because what happens in my home, what happens in my church, not only impacts just my family, but it impacts the entire community around us. And so where do we go from here? The journey doesn't just end here, I pray. Brotherhood isn't just a season, but it's a lifetime. So here's my challenge to us all who's watching, who's online, who's watching us on Facebook. Take what God has entrusted to you and multiply it. I challenge you to lead where you stand, to serve where you're planted, and to step into the spaces where courage is needed. And be the brother that someone else is praying for. Because someone always needs someone else. Like someone said, we're not an island. We all need someone else. The world doesn't need men who just believe. It needs men who live out their faith boldly. It doesn't just need men who attend church. We need men who act in church. We don't need men who are island who want to walk alone. I can do this by myself. But we need men who can lift each other up. There's this picture on my wall in my office, a man hanging over a cliff. There's another man standing above the cliff with his arm outreach, trying to help him up. And that is where we are, brothers. The strength that we built here is not just for us alone, but it's for our churches, for our families, for our communities, and it is for what God has impacted in our lives. So let's move forward with purpose. Let's walk together with conviction. And I pray that something that was said or done on this cohort throughout this year has helped not only those of us who are on the call, but those who have watched us. And I greatly thank Dr. Duhart for the capabilities of sharing the word all the way throughout social media land, because we couldn't have done it without her. And I'm just grateful and thankful for her. It's 8:38. I'm going to give each of you all a one-liner to go. I'm going to start with Reverend Lou, then Reverend Lars, then Brother Jackson, Reverend Baker, Reverend Mullins, Dr. Pinkett, and then I'm going to end with Dr. Smokes. No, and Dr. Shine, if you're still on. Dr. Jones, I'm going to ask you to come on and do our closing prayer. But before we leave, I don't feel comfortable without leaving without having Dr. Duhart share something with us tonight for all her hard work. So come on in, Dr. Duhart, give us a word of encouragement or something that God places on your heart.
Well, good evening, everyone. This has definitely been an informative session. I have enjoyed the Brotherhood cohorts. Thank you, Brother Blackman. Thank you, Dr. Smokes, Dr. Pinkett, certainly all of the brothers who have presented during the cohort 2025 season. But it's an opportunity to understand more what our brothers are going through, particularly our Black brothers here in our connectional church. I know what's going on in my community and my family and all, but to share it and just be so personal about what's going on. And it's definitely an eye opener. Many of the issues that we're having in the communities and all, it's happening in our church. And this should be our safe space in the church for us to be, for the brothers to be able to connect and to share, to have partnerships, to stand together. So it is definitely, I think it's been needed. I hope that our more of our men are paying attention. Our women could, pick up some pointers too about what's going on. But it has definitely been informative, inciting, and certainly a different perspective coming from the male standpoint. Thank you so much. And I enjoyed all of the sessions and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Duhart. You know, I love you and I greatly appreciate all that you do. Dr. Shine, you on? We're gonna start with Lou, then go to Dr. Shine.
Yes, sir.
Again, I just want to repeat what we shared earlier. Allow our voice to have volume because that volume leads us to our victory. Um, we're in a space to be vulnerable, but we're also in a space to be victorious. And now that we are creating these opportunities, let's not just allow this to be a one shot moment. Allow this to be something that we continue after June. And I said that out loud after June. So because there are going to be problems in July, there are going to be issues in August and September, and would it not be a sign of strength for us to be able to come back into this room and just talk it out? Love y'all to life.
Amen. Again, Brother Blackman, thank you for the opportunity to come and to share in this space. I think that this model is something that can be duplicated moving forward in terms of our men and even for the overall health of our church. I recently just completed my doctoral degree, and my dissertation was entitled "A Model for Maintaining Corporate Worship Despite Life Circumstances." And a part of that research and work was trying to create a model that can be duplicated to be able to share what can we do to enhance our corporate worship. And a part of that research was the inclusion of men's ministry. So again, thank you for this opportunity to share in this space.
Thank you so much, Doc. Listen, I think you can open yourself up for something when you express that, because I've seen a bunch of head rollers. So you're gonna probably get some calls in a couple a couple of days. Um, Brother Jackson and Reverend Lars.
Which one? You
Uh,
want Reverend Jackson? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Brother Jackson, then Reverend Lars.
Two things. Coming from a place of, I had to seek counseling at an early age. So y'all say y'all didn't like counseling. I was forced to have counseling since I was young. And I think I talked about that on the barbershop. But I want y'all to seek out opportunities in church to reach out to young people. There were two young men in our church. Well, they were teenagers, and they would come in church and sit in a corner and try to be invisible. And that just didn't work for me. And I would make a point of going over and messing with them repeatedly. And finally, one day, I just went over and put my head between them. And I told them, I say, number one, I love you. Number two, y'all are not going to be able to be invisible as long as I'm here. So to move fast forward, they now come in every Sunday. They either shake my hand and hug me, they speak, and now they're the church janitors.
Mm.
But that was a process. They if I had allowed them to, they would have stayed invisible over in the back corner of the church had I have allowed them to. But I looked at them and I thought about, we allow too many men to stay invisible, and when they hit 18, they disappear. And we need to stop allowing them to do that. We need to make them a part of the church. Let them know they're loved. Because the song is, what's love got to do with it? Everything. So that's my comment for this evening.
Well, I'd simply like to say it's great being here. Brother Blackman, let me say again, I appreciate you inviting me and having me here. I just want to say to the guys is that I'm going to hang out on that word intentionality, because right now, everybody hear me talking, but you don't know what I really believe. And that's sometimes where we run into trouble, is because we say things and we're not really intentional about it. And it sounds good. And, we extrapolate and pontificate and all of those fancy words. And at the end of the day, we still haven't reached anyone. So I just hang out on that. And I'm talking to myself. I tell people all the time, when I'm talking to you, I'm talking to me. Because again, I'm the most imperfect person I know. So if we just think about that, because people are broken and pain is real. And I'd like to share that simply because I'm probably still broken. Bench pressing over 500 pounds and playing football in and out of NFL, things like that. People cheering for you and clapping on your back and all of that stuff. And they don't know the nightmares that you're dealing with because you are broken. And everybody see a smile and they don't have a clue as to what's really happening behind your mind. So that's why I like to hang out on the word intentionality, and for us to understand that people are broken and that they're in pain, and they just may be, again, not understand getting, quote, therapy, unquote, or doing that. Because as you guys know, in our neighborhoods, therapy was not putting your business outside the house and getting that whipping or whatever, or just, and you guys have said it, all of you said it, being strong, not crying, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to hang out as I be quiet on intentionality. Be honest with people in what you are saying and allow them to get the help they need, because many of us are broken, were broken, or in pain, or just coming out of pain. And wish all you brothers a great night. And Dr. Duhart.
When you talked about that intentionality and broken vessels, it reminded me of a song Travis Green has called "Broken Vessels." I'm going to challenge you all to go and listen to it by Travis Green. It's "Broken Vessels." Really good song. The lyrics are great. The tune is great, but also the lyrics are really well, and I think they resonate with a lot of us, because we're all broken vessels. But we know who's our potter. Hey man, I'm going to leave it at that because I can start going into it. Reverend Zach, I'm going to ask you, and then Reverend Gio, and then we're going to have Dr. Pickett, Dr. Smokes, and then our final word and our closing prayer will come from Dr. Tyrone Jones.
Dr. Duhart, thank you so much as always. Allow me to simply use my time saying this. Brother Blackman, thank you for hearing God. Thank you for listening to God. And thank you for moving vision to reality in this space. I want to publicly affirm you as my brother, publicly affirm you as one who I know has the heart for the church, and publicly affirm you that eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, nor has it entered into the hearts of men or women what God has in store for you. Dr. Smokes, we appreciate this platform. God bless you all.
I second that motion. No. I just want to take this opportunity to say, of course, thank you to my good brother, Brother Blackman, and to each and every one of you, my brothers, and to the wonderful Dr. Duhart. Thank you so much for all that you all have done. And if I might just share how proud I am to be CME, how proud I am to be able to say that we have 150 plus years of serving Jesus Christ. But more importantly, how proud I am of each and every person on this call, each and every person connected to people on this call, each and every person watching us out there in virtual world. I am so very proud of you living life, because sometimes that's the hardest thing to do. I see you get up every day. I see you going to work or being retired or whatever it is. I am proud of you. I love you. If you have never heard those words before, I love you, and I love you for real. I love you real hard. I love you like a fat kid love cake, and I love cake, y'all. So I just love you guys, and I'm so proud, so very proud of each and every one of you. And I ask that you steward people well, because you don't know what type of impression you are leaving on the next person. And as you steward them well, get out and vote. Exercise your right. Go vote, people. And that's all I got to say. I'm done.
Dr. Peakett, Dr. Smokes, you know, you guys know how I feel about you. I greatly appreciate both of you for what you have allowed me to do and what you have imparted into my life. So if I've never told you, even though I know I have, but I'm publicly saying again, thank you both for all the encouragement and the love that you have shown me, not only just this year, but in the previous years ahead. So we're going to ask Dr. Pinkett if he would give his closing remarks, Dr. Smokes, and then our closing remarks. And however he sees fit to come in his own way, our closing remarks and prayer will be by Reverend Dr. Tyrone Jones.
First of all, thank you, Dr. Blackman, for continuing to pursue greatness. I told you when you were a young lad, you got some greatness in you. You continue to prove yourself. And I thank you for your gut level and gut emotional outlay of pouring into others. To Dr. Duhart, you know you're great. We tell you that all the time, but we mean it. We mean it in our hearts. And let us not forget that. Continue to strengthen our prayer life. You know, God gave us an opportunity to do all we can do. But we should always remember, when you get to that point where you think you're out of it, say a prayer and ask the Lord to help you, because he don't want to mess around with the things that we can fix. He wants that tough stuff. That's when you see God really act. So let us remain faithful and know that God's delay is never his denial. So I pray for each and every one of you on this line, because each of you have greatness in you. Peace, and have a great evening.
All right, all right. Brother Blackman, wonderful program for this evening. Can you guys hear me? Because I keep getting an
Yes.
unmute message. Okay.
Yes.
I'm all, let me back up. Dr. Duhart, fantastic job in broadcasting the events for this evening as well as in the past. My brothers, tonight we are leaving here a little bit more sharpened. Sharpened just to sit on the shelf. It's sharpened for a purpose. It's battle for so as we leave here tonight, we don't leave here dull. We leave sharp in our faith, sharp in our leadership, sharp in our discipline, sharp in our purpose. Our family needs us to be sharpened men. Our churches need us to be sharpened men. Our communities need us to be sharpened men. Remember, iron sharpens iron, but you must stay in contact, stay connected, stay accountable, stay growing, stay sharpening. Don't let your blade get dull. So we walk out, we leave here tonight ready, be with courage, pray with power, serve with humility, and stand with strength. So may God bless each and every one of you tonight. And I look forward to seeing you all in June and beyond, or if necessary. If you need to reach out to me, just give me a holler. My number is best to contact me through text messages because with work, I get a lot of emails and it all kind of filters into the computer, at this one computer. So if you want to reach me, you can reach me at 201-892-3942. May God bless you, and may heaven smile upon each and every one of you. Oh,
Dr. Jones.
So sorry, I had to unmute. I am so honored to be a part of this panel tonight. I've been truly blessed with the things that I've heard. And like Reverend Lars said, let us be intentional. Let this not be the last time that we get together, encourage one another. And I want to say this before I go into prayer. Let us remember that as men and women of leadership, we have a responsibility. And that responsibility is not little, and let us not take it light. For I heard someone say tonight that the children are watching. They're watching to emulate who they're going to be. They are choosing what man in our congregation, what man in their community they're going to follow. As I said, let us form ourselves in unity, as the text says. It's a beautiful thing when we come together on purpose. So let us be purposeful in this brotherhood and encouraging each other from church to church. Let us stay connected. Amen. Again, thank you, Brother Blackman, our technology, Dr. Duhart, and all of you wonderful, powerful, beautiful brothers, amen, that shared and that are watching. Let us pray. Most honorable one, divine, mighty God, the Most High, we come tonight, oh Lord God, to thank you for this platform. Thank you for the encouragement of Brother Blackman put this together. Oh God, I thank you for those who joined and sat on the panel and shared their experiences, God, and their insight. Thank you for all the others that joined us and viewed us and hope, oh God, of the CME Church, oh God, becoming a large entity again and connection in our communities and in our worlds and in our schools and our recreations and even in our political system in every community. We thank you now. We pray that as we go, Lord God, that you go with us, that you be our source of strength. For unity is the key. The text says, "Are we our brother's keeper?" God bless us tonight. God bless each of you tonight. Go in peace. God bless.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so very much. Have a blessed night.